with American songwriter, we had the opportunity to talk to the Black Moods.
Adam was able to talk to Josh, Chico, and Jordan over the phone. Check out their new record, Sunshine.
And make sure to check out our Facebook page and YouTube channel at Bringing It Backwards, and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Bringing Back Pod.
We'd appreciate your support if you follow and subscribe to our podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts.
We're Bringing It Backwards with the Black Moods. Okay, thank you guys so much for doing this. Our podcast is all about your guys' journey in the music industry and how you got to where you are today. I read that you guys are from Tempe. Chico just said that he was the only one born and raised there. So where's everybody from originally?
Well, this is Josh. I was born and raised in the Ozarks in Southwest Missouri. Actually, in Joplin is where I was born. And I grew up and lived here for 19 years before I moved to Phoenix.
Oh, wow. How did you get into music?
So my dad was in a band. My dad and my uncle played in a band all growing up. They were like they consider this the four-state area where I'm from. And so they were the band that was a regionally big band in the area. And so I was sat there through all the rehearsals when I was a kid. And eventually, you know, my mother's water broke at one of my dad's gigs.
Oh my gosh.
So I was literally born into music. And from then on, I just always roadied. I hung out with them every chance I could, just because there was something that I thought was so powerful about what they did. And it just blew my mind. It's just very powerful stuff, even though they weren't doing it on as big a scale as we are now. But it really, just seeing that and how they got treated and how four guys could get up on stage and make that noise and pretty much bring everybody a good time is what they always did. So that really turned me on to that.
That's really awesome. How cool. So you said you got to like roadie a little bit, you know, kind of gear and be a part of it. Yeah.
And when I was 12, I went to my first gig out I was actually on stage with them. But they played four sets a night, 45-minute sets. You know, so they start at 9 and go to 1. But they only let me stay the first set, and then I had somebody come pick me up and take me home. And I never understood why I couldn't hang around after that first set. And after getting to be a part of it and realizing, you know, why when you're playing those bars and pretty much everybody gets really drunk after that and the party ensues. So now I understand completely why I wasn't allowed to stick around.
Yeah, he got you out of there just before everybody got smashed.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, they'd pay me my $10 at the end of the night when they'd come home or whatever for the set. So
that's awesome. Very cool. Okay, Jordan, how did you get into music?
Well, I'm from Ohio, from Toledo, Ohio, and similar to Josh, my father was into music. He was a guitar player, though not a drummer, and he got me into music at a very young age too. Yeah, and we later in life, you know, I got my first bass when I was 10, and you know, I didn't want to play the bass. I was like, what am I gonna do with this? So I kind of sat there for a little while. I played it for a little bit, you know, and then I think I was like 13 years old when I really got into it, and you know, Nirvana and stuff like that. Somebody showed me, like my cousin came over and showed me this, and we started this little band. You know, we were in like a little family band like Josh was, and very similar kind of thing where it was kind of in the family. And we did that for a while in Ohio. We toured around Ohio and you know, in that area, Michigan a lot, and Detroit. And you know, I didn't really think it was going to be a career until I was probably like 18 or 19, just like Josh. Again, it's very similar. And I moved to LA actually instead of
Arizona.
Yeah, so I went out there for a while, and I did some music out there for about 5 years, almost to the day, I think. And you know, it started off pretty rough, and then I started, you know, networking and meeting a lot of people, and some of the people that I met happened to be shared mutual friends with Chico and Josh and I. So through the grapevine, you know, through a couple of years, I ended up meeting Josh and Chico. And And, you know, again, through the years, they hit me up. They needed a bass player, and I was already playing in a band. And I went and auditioned, and, you know, they kidnapped me.
That's
like,
awesome.
please, no. I mean, they literally, I'm not kidding. They kidnapped me. Why are you
Help me. Help me.
I am still kidnapped.
Muffled noises.
I'm kidding. No, it's been great. These guys have been great. It's been a very good ride.
Very cool. Chico, how about you?
Different from these guys, no one really in my family ever played music except my eldest uncle, but he would play guitar at church, and you know, it was a Spanish-speaking church. But I was hanging out with some buddies once, and I heard "Smells Like Teen Spirit" come on the jukebox or radio wherever we were at, and I instantly knew that drums is something. Music drew me to that, and then later finding out who Dave Grohl was, I was like, wow, that's exactly what I want to do. So I just pursued music ever since then. I was probably about 13, I think, is when I discovered music for the first time, like really listened to it. And so that's how I got into it.
When did you get your first drum kit?
Oh, that's a funny story too. My dad, you know, I'm like, hey Dad, I want to play drums. He's like, yeah, right. And so he told me, he's like, well, if you, you know, play drums at school, I think I was in 5th or 6th grade, for a semester, you know, because I had music classes there, I'll get you a drum kit. So I did that, and he's like, well, I meant 2 semesters. I was like, because he just didn't want to hear all the noise.
Right.
And so finally he got me my drum kit, and it was just a 4-piece little Rogers kit. I wish I knew then what I know now, because that kit is probably worth a lot of money now, and of course I sold it. But he got, yeah, I know. And then he got me the drum kit, but no cymbals. And that had to be a whole nother year. I was like, what is this?
He's like, you want the cymbals? You have 2 more semesters.
Yeah, I better get A's and B's and whatnot. So I did. And then eventually I got my first drum kit, and drove him crazy. So he would come home after work. He'd be home by like 6 or 7. I'd get home from school for about 3 o'clock. So he's like, that's your window of when you can play. So I did for like 3 hours a day until he got home.
That's cool though. At least you could play for that long. I mean, that's a pretty good session. It's not like he's like, okay, you can play from 3 to 4. I'll be home at 4:30.
Yeah.
That was like me growing up.
So Josh, how did you meet up with Chico and Jordan?
Well, I was a big fan of the Gin Blossoms growing up in the Midwest. They had played on the American Music Awards, and my dad was actually watching the show, and I was in my room just butchering Cocaine by Eric Clapton hours on end. And my mother still to this day cannot even stomach that song.
She just heard it too many times.
Oh yeah, over and over, and it's only 2 chords, so you can imagine how terrible you must have been to screw that song. And so I just did that, and my dad hollered at me to come out there and check this band out. I think they were playing Hey Josie, and I immediately fell in love with it. He's talking about the songs, how good they are, and you should write songs like this. And I immediately just started writing songs, and I got hooked on the Gin Blossoms. I decided then that I was going to get out of town, because I grew up in Wheaton, Missouri, a town of 600 people. There was nothing but churches and you know, MIPs for minders driving back roads and getting caught with booze, you know. So I just kept playing and sat in my room, and that's all I did. And eventually I built a band, you know, a high school band type thing, and I got us all tickets, because by that point, when I was in high school, the Gin Blossoms had already broken up, and they'd started other bands, and the singer was coming to Springfield, Missouri, so I got all the band tickets to go see him. He was playing a small club. Wound up hanging out with him for a bit. Luckily, after the show, he told us all to get real jobs and go to college. If we didn't, because he knew I wasn't going to do that. And he said, if you're ever in Tempe, Arizona, look me up. I have a studio. So, cut scene, I was staying home from work one day, and in the back of the Rolling Stone magazine was an ad for the Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences. And it said Tempe, Arizona, and I thought, well, if I can't play music in a I want to be in the music business somehow. So I wound up calling that school, and I got into the school and moved out there like within, I don't know, 8 months of calling the school and finding out about it. And it just happened to be, because I put Tempe together, that's where the Blossoms were from.
Uh-huh.
And I wound up hooking back up with those guys and doing my internship at their studio.
Oh, cool.
And started working on my own. Yeah, I started working on my own stuff. And the band that I joined at the time when I found out I was staying in Phoenix, their drummer was friends with Chico. And he was a great drummer, but he was a terrible, person. He wasn't a band guy. I love him to death now. We totally get along. But at the time, he was just not a good dude to be around, even though he was a good player, which goes back to show you, personality is a lot of the gig as well as talent. And so when he quit, we quit playing music together, and I had a session that night or something, and so he just told me about Chico, and I really had no choice, and so long story short, I'm just stuck with him.
And you're welcome.
Right. Okay.
In writing.
So that's how that came out.
So you and Chico meet that way, and then Jordan, how did you get in the mix?
Well, Josh and Chico were playing in Phoenix together with this guy named Richard Bradley, and he's a drummer, and well, I guess Josh was, and Chico knew him separately, something like that.
We were just all really good friends.
He was actually the drummer of my band out in Los Angeles called Fire. So while I was playing in that band, we opened up for the Black Moods one night in Scottsdale, Arizona. And so I met them about a year actually before I joined the band. So I knew them, and I don't think they remembered me because of Miller Lite and Jameson. But I remember them, and I auditioned after that about a year later, and then I packed my bags from Los Angeles, like literally everything.
Yeah, like what happened was we were looking for a bass player, and there was this one bass player named Dan that we were looking for, and through mutual friends we asked, and he said, "Well, I'm booked, but my roommate's open," and that was Jordan. And so we sent him 17.
Yeah, we had no idea.
Demo. Yeah, we had no idea. And it's just a small world. That's the way things work. We're like, oh, yeah, Jordan, okay. And so we sent him the audition tapes. He came in, and I remember it was 17 songs, and he nailed them one by one in like 45 minutes. So it was just the three of us, and we're looking around. We're like, well, what do we do now? You live in L.A. And he's like, well, let's go pick up my crap. Let's go. So we did.
Wow. So you were stoked right away, Jordan. You're in.
Yeah, I was in. I liked their music. I thought it was pretty good, and I saw them live, and we opened up for them, and I thought it was great. And I kind of thought that night, I was like, I can do that better than that guy.
Yeah.
So
that guy sucked.
I did. I did. And it was funny how it happened. Kind of a year later, I was flying home to Ohio, and my buddy Dan hits me up, and he's like, "Hey, I can't do this gig. There's this band that you might know called the Black Moods, looking for a bass player." And I just kind of laughed. It was pretty funny. So, naturally I took the gig, and I was pretty excited.
Wow. And at that point, did you guys have any albums out?
Yeah, we
had two.
We just came out with Medicine.
Okay.
Yeah,
so you had the second record, or Medicine was already out at that point?
Yeah. It just came out, and we'd just been kind of, it was kind of the same thing that Metallica, all these bands have gone through, where there's been guys like filling in, but there wasn't the right guy, and you always knew that. Hell, we had a bass player fill in for us for a couple months, and I don't think I talked to him but twice.
Oh, wow.
It was just, Chico did the communication, because I just was like, this guy sucks. But at the time we were moving so fast, we had no time to sit still. So we just kept bringing in these guys to kind of fill in the gap until, because at that point, Chico and I had just written off, the fact that it was just going to be us two, because we're so driven, and when you're starting out, you got to sacrifice everything. You have to, we got our bills down to a phone bill and rent. We wound up moving into our studio really and staying there, where because we were on the road so much, we didn't want to waste money on a house, because we'd already been through that, and and all that kind of thing. So we'd settled on the fact that we weren't going to find that third guy that had as much drive and willing to sacrifice as much as we had. So we settled on hired guns, which I despised the whole time. And then we felt, and Jordan came back into our lives. Let's fucking save this.
Yeah. So Jordan, you joined the band like right as that record came out?
About a year later, I think.
Okay.
It was September of 2017 is when I joined. So
yeah.
And then we immediately went into the studio and wrote and recorded Sunshine, the record.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was right then in 2007. What year? It was 17, you said?
Yeah, 17, 18. That was like pre-production, right? Literally the first week that I had with the guys when I moved in. We started working with Johnny K, our producer. That was when we started pre-production with those with Johnny. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So,
wow.
Yeah, so the whole process of Sunshine took from that date, a matter of like 2.5 years to complete.
Yeah, because we did it in sections.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I was wondering, I'm like, does that record just came out, right, in May?
It did, yeah.
Okay.
It's been a work in progress, yeah.
Wow. Sure. Okay, well, tell me about, so right when you joined the band, you go and start, were you guys writing songs together? Like, how did Sunshine come together? Was it just like that organically? Like once Jordan joined, you was easy to crank the songs out?
We'd been cranking away on demos and stuff, and then so we had some that were good to go, and then we just started writing with Jordan right off the bat, and that's when we came up with Donna and Bad News, Lack of Love, and all those kinds of things.
Oh wow, okay. And then you guys, because you released Bella Donna as like the first single, right, or a song?
Yeah.
Okay, and then Bad News came out, and then and then Sunshine is the most recent single from the new record.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Was it? How'd you feel about it, Jordan, joining the band, like being on the first recording? Like, had you recorded like with at that level before?
No, I don't think I've recorded at that level before. I've definitely been I guess it's hard to say yes and no. I've definitely been in the studios where I've recorded stuff before. Was it being heard by anybody? No. So at that capacity, it was definitely something that it was different because, the Black Moods before I joined already had a fan base. So there was already going to be more attention on what I've been playing and, what I've been writing and stuff like that. So that was actually pretty exciting though, to have something out there that people are actually going to listen to. And, like we spoke about earlier, as soon as I got there, we started kind of co-writing and figuring out, trying to write songs. And Josh had some old ideas that we made new, and including Sunshine, and we like refurbished that and made that like totally change it into a new idea and a new song that it is today. And we wrote other songs together, which was really cool.
Wow. And then I read that you guys moved into like your home studio like during this quarantine to write and record stuff.
Yeah. Actually, we Josh is from here in the Ozarks, and our the head of our label, he has a house out here in Monette. That's how they know each other. Josh used to work for him years ago, and so he's got a really big house. And Arizona's so hot in the summer. We always try to be on tour anyways, just to get out of Arizona.
Yeah, I live in San Diego. A lot of people come over here during the summer.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
It's all good. I'm sure. It's just funny. Yeah.
Yeah, you just want to stay away from it. It's literally a furnace. It's nasty until about Halloween is when it's really, really nice again. But so we literally packed up our own, because we have our own studio now that we've built over the years, and we literally put in the bus and trailer and trucked it all the way over here and set it back up, and we're using this house, and we live here for the summer, and we're recording here, and we've already been tracking like 6 or 7 songs, and Johnny K gets here on Sunday night, and we start working with him. So
wow.
we can't tour. Yeah, we can't tour, so we might as well get the next record, get that one already ready to go, so when we can tour, it's just straight touring until we drop.
And that would have been during quarantine. So you guys put the record out when everybody was the quarantine had started or was already going.
Yep.
Wow. Was that weird?
We discussed pushing it back because I know a bunch of artists did that.
Mm-hmm.
But we pretty much don't like to do what everybody else is doing. It's not as much fun, you know. So since everybody else is holding their records back, we thought, why not put it out and see what happens? Because everybody's going to be home with nothing else to do anyway. So might as well listen, you know.
Yeah,
give a record out. And besides, we've been working on it for 2.5 years. We're ready for it to see the light of day, and you know, to get, because it's not that it's to us. You know, we've been living with it for that long, so we're kind of, once we get it out there, you put that baby in the world, then you can kind of move on to the next thing as far as production wise.
Mm-hmm. And that's what you guys are working on. You're working on what will be the next project, and then is that how you're working with Eddie Kramer, who did the Stones and Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix?
Yeah.
Or did he work on Sunshine also, or no?
No, he just did because how that came about was I met Eddie years ago in Los Angeles when I was doing some session work, and we hit it off, and we're using his plugins doing some demos because he's got his own signature plugins for Pro Tools and, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah. And we had just taken a picture of ourselves in front of the screen really cheesily, you know, and sent it to him, and he called us back immediately and was just asking how we were doing and what's new, and then because he's quarantined too in Toronto, so he said, why don't we work on a track together and let's try this virtual producing type of thing. So he produced us from his studio out there and just took control of our desk here at the house and told us where to put the mics, how he did it with Zeppelin and little tricks and stuff like that. And, you know, we were lucky enough we get to leave all this gear set up. So the songs, so he produced a song for us, and then the other songs that Johnny's going to come in and work on, you know, we still get to go through all Eddie's tricks and his tones and stuff. So it's really exciting. So and we just done one with Eddie so far just to see how it would go. So
that's crazy. So he did like a share your computer thing with him, so he could just take over your controls and.
There's some software called Audio Movers. Yeah, it's like Audio Movers is the software that he used, and it just kind of controls. He's hearing what we're hearing on his speakers.
That's so awesome. That's crazy.
And then we used Zoom to be able to see each other, and it just worked out fantastically.
Wow. Do you think that seems like something that's going to just change the whole game here with producers?
Yeah.
Like you could probably get a producer from somebody that you wanted to work with in like the UK or whatever, and then you don't have to worry about flying them over and all that.
Right, that's the overhead costs for all those things are, you know, and then they're in bed every night. They're, you know, they stay in their own bed, and we like the idea of working directly with the producer, you know, like one-on-one. But in these kind of times, it's, you know, it's pretty interesting to see the way that you can do things differently.
Sure. Wow. Yeah. What a weird time it is, but it sounds like you guys are making do and working on, you know, even newer record than what you guys have just released. So that's really exciting. And thank you so much for talking with me today. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. I want to know, I have one more question. I want to know individually from you guys, if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
It's a good question. Well, there's really no wrong way to do it now, you know, for anybody that's wanting to get into it, because there's people that have, you know, everybody's making records. Look at Billie Eilish. You know, they sit in their room, and I'm sure there's a bigger story there than they're letting on, but you know, it's just pretty amazing, and they just keep after it. And you got to, you know, and the music business is hard no matter, you know, no matter what tier you're in. So you got to be willing to make a lot of sacrifices to make it work.
I would say network, meet everybody you can. Just don't shake their hand.
Yeah. Meet everyone you can from 6 feet away.
Yep.
Yeah, this is Chico. You know, one of the things that because we've gone around to even like elementary schools and high schools and you know, do little presentations or something. And the same thing that I've told everybody is like, if even if it's not music, if it's something that you're passionate about and you feel like that's something that you want to do, well, make sure you know that you're going to have to make sacrifices, and no matter what, just don't give up. Keep your eye on the ball and keep going towards it. Because, you know, eventually, if you don't give up, how do you know if you're going to get to where you want to go? If you do give up, you know?